I remember like time slowed down, kind of freaked out, and I tensed up. And when I landed, it felt like I went off a cliff. And when I landed, I felt all the impact like a lightning bolt on my low back. And it was just the most immense pain, and just like, I literally felt like my vertebrae smash, and I knew I was in big trouble.
Welcome to the Better Man Podcast with Ivan and Suman. This podcast is all about how to be an optimal, conscious male in today's society. Join Ivan and Suman as they go deep into the rabbit hole of personal growth, mindset, social dynamics, and spirituality. Are you ready to be a better man?
And we are live. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Man Podcast. And unfortunately, Ivan couldn't be here today, but I'm taking over for now. And feel free right now to tune in to the affirmation of the day. So I would like you, the listener, to repeat after me. I am consecutively growing.
I am consecutively growing.
I am working towards my purpose.
I am working towards my purpose.
I am truly aligned with my soul mission.
I am truly aligned with my soul mission.
Powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we have an incredible guest with us today, as you've heard just now. Charles Clay. He's a men's empowerment coach who also does a deep dive on mind, body, and soul. Neurokinetic Therapy and kinesiology are some things that he studied, and he helps men to discover their purpose. Thank you so much for being on here, brother.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me. Glad we can make this happen.
And, man. We've had some technical difficulties, but we made it happen. Yep.
Never stops anybody from having a good time.
Absolutely.
So we got multiple cameras going on, and your Insta, if you're able to move, there you go.
I'll move it over here, yeah.
That way we can see your pearly whites and beautiful face. All right, I'm ready to dive in, brother. We're on fire right now. We got everything dialed in, all systems go.
Yes, we do. Absolutely, absolutely. So, the first question I wanted to ask you, brother, is everybody really has like this moment, or let's say this tipping point in their self-actualization or self-development journey. What was that for you? And what is the journey that led you into being a coach in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Thanks for asking. I had a really powerful moment in my life when I was up the top of Mammoth Mountain, and I had a couple friends with me, and it was a full-on blizzard. Like there was snow coming in from every which way, so you could barely even see like your hand out in front of you, let alone the blur of trees and stuff. So it was a wild day, and they even closed the lifts because it was so dangerous up there.
Yeah.
But we're already at the top, so we decided, let's just stay low and be ready for anything and charge this like ninjas. And we had a blast snowboarding through this blizzard until I all of a sudden took a jump that I didn't know was there. And I found myself in midair on a complete whiteout. And I remember like time slowed down, kind of freaked out, and I tensed up. And when I landed, it felt like I went off a cliff. And when I landed, I felt all the impact like a lightning bolt on my low back. And it was just the most immense pain, and just like, I literally felt like my vertebrae smash, and I knew I was in big trouble. It was one of those moments where I'm like, oh boy, what just happened? And so I'm laying there in immense pain, and I'm yelling to my friends, hoping that they can hear me. And they're already down the hill. I check my phone to see if I can call somebody. Phone's dead. And it's in those moments that you really find what you're made of. Like, I had to channel my inner warrior and be like, I need to get down this mountain somehow, and I need to push through this pain. So I clicked off my board, sat on my board, and would go down as far as I could before I'd have to like fall over, take some deep breaths, breathe through the pain, and then hop back on my board and try to get down again. So eventually I made it down. Then I had to go see all these doctors, and they were showing me the bad news that how jacked up my spine was, and that I needed surgery, and that I might never move the same. So being my background in kinesiology and my studies in health and wellness and being a personal trainer for years, this was like the worst news I could have gotten. And so that was a moment when I made a deal with myself and was able to access through all the fear, my intuition, that I can heal this without surgery. I just had a deep knowing. And so I listened to that, and that took me on an immense self-healing journey. And I tried tons of different chiropractors, like acupuncturists, energy healers, you name it, to try to get some answers into healing myself from this. And I found myself barely even being able to crawl to the bathroom. I was in so much pain and out of alignment. And that's when it hit me, like, why this was happening to me. So during the week, I was teaching health and wellness with my expertise. And then on the weekends, I was going out and enjoying overconsumption of alcohol, drugs, sex, rock and roll, you name it. Just over consuming to try not to feel a gauntlet of emotions that were stuck as issues in my tissues and wanted to be expressed.
Issues in your tissues.
Yeah.
And
so that was this epiphany that came to me that, okay, I'm open to healing this, and I surrender. And I began to feel all the fear, all the shame of not even being able to get up and go to work. Some grief, some depression, like all these heavy emotions that I was trying not to feel, and using external substances to just push down, right, and avoid. And in that, I was able to drop into a meditation with the intention of finding answers to healing this. And in that meditation, I remember it's a Abraham Hicks meditation. And during that meditation, a friend of mine I hadn't heard from in years texted me saying, hey, I heard your back's in bad shape. Check out Neurokinetic Therapy. And so this was like a new rabbit hole discovery for me, the work of David Weinstock, which is incredible. And he's figured out ways to get answers from the body using these techniques, to figure out the root cause of aches, pains, injuries, and how to clear it in a matter of minutes. So this was already connecting so many dots for me with my background with health and wellness, kinesiology. So I instantly got on the phone with him. He set me up with one of his top students while I was in San Diego. And that's when I had my first NKT session. And I remember just walking in, like, my hip was out to the left, my upper body was to the right. It was embarrassing. I was in so much pain. And that was representative of how far out of alignment I was with my purpose at that time. How out of integrity I was.
So your physical alignment affected your emotional alignment.
Yeah, exactly. So our bodies, is the greatest technology on the planet, is always giving us messages, always telling us. It's a representation of our subconscious. And so what I was trying to ignore was how out of alignment I was with helping others through health and wellness, through fitness. And yet I was indulging in self-destructive behaviors. again. So eventually, it's like the universe will give you a feather and be like, hey, you're a little out of alignment. You might want to make some shifts here, get back into alignment with your purpose and why you're here and who you are. And if you don't listen to that, ignore it, keep doing the same patterns, then it's like you hit by a brick, right? The universe sends you a louder message.
Yeah.
And then if you don't make any changes after getting hit by the brick, then it's like, a Mack truck with you. And that's when people end up in the hospital.
Demolition derby.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we've been trying to tell you, you're falling off your path. Yeah. And I didn't listen. I was stubborn until finally I got hit by the Mack truck, which was this injury, snowboarding. And that was such a gift to me because I got up on the table and she was testing my glutes to see if they were firing, and I wasn't getting any signal to my glutes. I was like, what do you mean they're not firing? I have huge glutes. And she had a good personality. She was like, yeah, they're all form, no function. You're not getting any signal there. And so she discovered where the neurological traffic jam was. She had me clench my jaw and then retest the glutes again, and all of a sudden they're strong. So my body just told us that I had a neurological traffic jam in my jaw from the repressed emotions, from the trauma, the impact. And so the messages from my brain weren't getting past here to where they needed to go, to my powerhouse muscles to contract, help stabilize my spine in good alignment. Pretty fascinating stuff, right? So she did this cleanup. She got the gloves out and was like, I know we just met, but I'm going to have to go in your mouth. And I was like, you're going to what? And she's great. So she massaged my jaw and it hurt so bad. I was holding on to so much tension there. And after releasing that, I was able to activate my glutes. And we did this for a couple other relationships and the muscle patterns in my body. And I hopped off the table and I was like, I can move again. Like I'm in alignment, and the pain decreased. I mean, I was like 90% better in one session. So this was a huge epiphany for me. This was like, okay, I received the message, like this is my path and this is what I need to learn. So I took David Weinstock's courses, became neurokinetic therapist, and totally evolved my practice and into more of a healing practice. And instead of, just ignoring pain and working through it, no pain, no gain, right? That just equals more injuries, trust me. And so this evolved into getting to share that work with all the men that were coming to me, a lot of them with low back pain, a lot of neck issues. And so typically, like another really common one is low back pain, especially right side. It's typically stress around money, like financial, and having to go out, bring home the bacon, got to do. Even when we're trying to rest, if you're in your head thinking about all the things you need to do, then that's going to show up in your body as an imbalance. The right side, as we know in Eastern philosophy, represents the masculine, left side the feminine. So all that doing and all that like pressure around needing to do more is like not allowing enough of the receptiveness and balance between the two sides, right? So then they'll experience low back pain, come to me, and then we'll figure out, okay, your QL's overfiring, quadratus lumborum, low back muscle, for your psoas muscle. And so in their body, it might show up as dysfunction. I can see lack of stability in their hips. And then we get them on the table, muscle test. Their body tells me, okay, here's where the compensation pattern is. And I show them how to clear that up. And all of a sudden they're getting off the table and feeling way better and feeling empowered with these mind-body tune-ups they can do to make sure that everything's firing on all cylinders, and then get back into the game and share their magic with the world. So this work was amazing. Like that feeling of like being able to really help somebody in that way in such a short time is like this deep level of fulfillment that is way beyond any money amount, or, it's tuning into that is always a sign of following that fulfillment is a sign that you are on the right path. It's like that confirmation of like, yes, this is my purpose. And so as we are human beings, our purpose even evolves, right? So as I dove deeper, have more and more people coming to me for the healing practice, we also discovered that underlying a lot of this, we had the metaphysical aspects, which we address. We have the physiological aspects, which we use the NKT for to get to the root cause of compensation patterns. And then there's always an emotional component involved in this. So that's what I got to really deep dive, because I kept seeing the common denominators with men showing up and having a lot of the same issues continuing over and over again, because they weren't dealing with the last place to look, and the emotional processing. And it was the same with my path. You know, it was like, man, I've tried everything, right? Except for actually sitting to feel it, to heal it. And so I went on a deep dive studying release techniques, practices, and devouring books on emotional support, emotional release techniques. And so that has been a gift to bring to groups, and started holding men's groups because this was such a huge demand. Like I noticed so many men like me, Charles 1.0, were stuck in this, like, you know, lone wolf trying to do everything on your own. You know, I can figure it out on my own, I need help. And like, it actually takes a lot of courage to ask for help.
It does. Absolutely.
And so tapping into that, I finally received the help I needed, and then I get to help others in a new way. So that incident, that injury, was one of the greatest gifts that could have happened for me to help me realign my purpose. And then holding the men's groups, creating a container where men can actually be seen, heard, and felt, and share resources, support, acknowledgement, accountability. That's where I really get serious fact-based results. Like this was
absolutely, yeah. I've actually been a part of a men's group before, and the biggest thing was that feeling of community, brotherhood, and tribe. You know, and that for me was just the biggest game changer. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about this thing that you mentioned, the lone wolf, right? There's so many stereotypes that men sort of fall into, that they get sort of trapped into. I'm sure you've experienced a couple of these. You know, have you ever heard of the king, warrior, magician, lover, the archetypes? Yeah, so there's the shadow sides of those, obviously. Then we have the lone wolf, the underdog, the nice guy. There's so many of those out there. So what are a couple of those that definitely kept you trapped and not tapping into your authenticity? Because I've been through this whole process in terms of studying the theater and studying authenticity versus role play, and does fake it till you make it work. So it wasn't until later that I delved into my own authenticity and started to really fulfill my purpose in that way, by just tuning into myself and tuning into my body. So what is your experience with this and these different archetypes and different symbols that are out there in masculine culture?
Yeah, I mean, I can say from my own experience, and one I see a lot, is the fool.
Yeah.
Fool. And there's even, you know, shadow and light to the fool. There's like always seeking, you know, new realms and new experiences, and doesn't have the same judgments of a lot of people that are very like wanting to stay safe in their same comfort zone. So there's advantages to that. But then on the shadow side of the fool is like, we're neglecting the obvious, right? So I was trying to do everything on my own and figure out a way, you know, that I could get through it, and just use the power of positivity to, you know, to get through all my challenges. And that only got me so far. And what I realized was, by doing this deep dive and emotional work, is that we are here to experience the whole spectrum of emotions. and we're all experiencing the same stuff, just in our own unique way. So why would we try to say that we're not worthy of that experience, even if it's some of the heaviest emotions, right? So as soon as I, my perception around that and saw it as a gift and something that I could see with eyes of curiosity, then I was able to explore and find some golden nuggets in the depths of some of the heaviest emotions, you know? And so, and what I found with that is that this human experience is a lot about contrast, right? And there's no black or white, and there's no, you know, the rights, the wrongs, like there's, you see it everywhere throughout the human experience. And so what I found was that my ceiling of joy was like right here, and it was pretty high with positivity. And yet when I was able to go to lower depths of what I was trying not to feel before, of like, you know, even depression, grief from losing my parents, and like having to process the anger of that, and just like the depths, the lowest vibration emotions, by going there, I was able to sit with that and experience some golden nuggets, some beauty in that, even in those depths. And what that did was allowed an equivalent raising of my vibrational joy, the amount of joy, bliss, and like love that you could experience on the other end of the spectrum. So I was like in awe of that process. And so now I invite, you know, everything that wants to come through to be felt fully, so that I can discover what I'm supposed to learn from that, and get to share this work with others as well. So it's been profound.
Awesome, man. So yeah, there's a couple of things that are coming up for me. Is that, first of all, that amazing gift that you got from that, was it Neurokinetic Therapy? Correct? That was, that story was an incredible story, a beautiful story, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also the struggles that you've actually been through in terms of all of that, like repression, suppression, you know, escaping the present moment, all that stuff. I think it's very common nowadays that men do that. They sort of allow themselves not to feel, or they numb themselves a lot. So what do you feel is the biggest problem with men? What are they struggling with in this day and age? And what is some of the things that they need to go through in order to come out of the other side feeling lighter?
Well, on the big scale, on the macro scale, the biggest issue is men not living in their purpose.
Yeah.
That's the root cause of all the problems in the world. And a lot of that is our emotions can be used as a guidance system to help us align with that, right? You help somebody and you feel this level of fulfillment in these heightened states of emotion, then that's a cue that is, you are heading in the right direction. And this is confirmation that this is aligned with your purpose, right? In service. So what happens is, this day and age, so many men are just getting lost and not willing to experience that compass, trying to ignore it, right? Because we don't want to feel the heavy emotions, or the darkness, or the look at the shadow side. And so we're missing out on our internal compass, on how to really align with what works us up the most, and what really we're here to bring to the world to make this a better place while we're here. Because each and every one of us has these amazing, unique gifts, talents, passions, and skills. And you can either try to keep that inside of you because of fear, and you're worried about people might judge you if you share, or all that. It's going to up inside. I've experienced it. And it's an ugly, painful existence. Or you can align with your purpose and have the courage to share those gifts, to harness those skills into a way that leads to massive impact in others' lives. And that leads to long-term fulfillment. Yeah. So the way to answer your question is, what I had to face was what I call the PacMan program. And this is what so many men can relate to. So, you know, a lot of men are probably like, oh, you know, I'm kind of aligned with my purpose, or, you know, and then they're dabbling into all the self-destructive behaviors and might be in denial that they're actually addicted, or that these are taking them in a downward spiral away from creating what they are here to create. So my point is, the PacMan program is what I call when we're consuming more than we're creating. And so this was a really challenging pattern that I found, and another reason that I was drawn to smoking weed and drinking alcohol and sex and any of the like seeking pleasure to get fulfillment, right? And it was only a temporary fulfillment. It was fleeting, right? And it left me feeling empty, because that wasn't long-term fulfillment, which comes from creating what it is you're here to share.
Yeah.
Right? So that one resonates with a lot of the men in our group, called the PacMan Program. Just bringing awareness to that alone can really be a game changer. Just noticing like, ooh, I want to go in the kitchen and eat a bunch of food or some cookies or whatever, right? Or I want to go have a cocktail. And if you take that moment of self-power and that choice and say, what is it that I'm really seeking from that? Am I really hungry? Do I really need sugar? Do I really need alcohol? Like, what's underneath that that's actually wanting to be addressed? And usually what that is stuffing your creative potential.
Yeah.
We're trying to stuff it with external things because we're afraid to build or to share or to serve with the talents we're given. And it just leads to more turmoil and more of the PacMan program.
I love that, the PacMan Program. That's awesome. That's a great name for it, actually. Yeah, that overconsumption is very a big deal for a lot of men, in terms of they're suffering from that instant gratification, essentially. And you know, in positive psychology, we have this term called hedonic happiness and eudaimonic happiness. Eudaimonic meaning the more long-term happiness. Hedonic is like the short bursts of dopamine and pleasure. And yeah, a lot of men fall into that category, fall into that trap. And yeah, when you can actually see the bigger picture and align with your purpose, it sort of starts to shift everything. Having said that, a purpose by itself, do you think that that's there are other elements to it that strengthen and allow a purpose to go by faster or manifest a lot more smoothly? What would you say are a couple of other factors that would determine transforming your pain into your purpose?
Great question. Practices, having a connection to a source of power higher than ourselves.
Yeah,
that's like some of the greatest guidance system. We're all like looking on Google for answers when we can really tune in to Cosmic Google.
Cosmic Google, love it. Guys, if you're listening right now, make that a hashtag, please.
That's really when you're in silence and in meditation or whatever your practice is. You know, I have a really specific practice. I call it MBM, which I teach the men in our group. And it's this powerful practice to movement, to release resistance, tension in the body, not ignoring it, but actually feeling it to heal it, allowing it to move. And then breath work, some really powerful techniques and what you need in that time. Like, I've been able to share breath as a means of replacing a lot of people's pharmaceuticals, which has been astounding. So the power of breath, you know, we guide a lot of breath work for clearing, for transformational work, for raising your vibration, for healing. So movement, breath, and then meditation. And the meditation is very crystal clear. You can be open to receive the answers that you're seeking, and just listen. And sometimes you'll sit there and you'll hear, just keep listening. You know, and sometimes your lessons of patience, right? And so that's typically where that process is, where a lot of my inspired action comes from. That's like where I connect to something greater than myself, whatever that is for each person is great. And having a daily practice to connect with that, I definitely recommend it early in the morning, before you're getting on the electronics, before you're programming yourself to react to everyone else, and have that sacred time for yourself to really find that connection to something greater. And then through that, it's really easy to pay attention to the cues that your body's giving you. You know, we're always like on these high-tech phones and smartphones and all the latest and greatest gadgets, but like the greatest technology on the planet is these human bodies that we get to call home for such a short time, you know. And here we are looking externally, playing with everything else, when these bodies are always giving us messages, always giving us signals. So when we get good at tuning into that, then it's really easy to find alignment with what lights you up the most, with what brings your greatest fulfillment, and how you can create that into making impact in others' lives, and being of service, and really experiencing deep long-term fulfillment that you deserve.
For the men listening right now who are looking towards taking more action and being more in their masculine energy, what are a few shifts that they need to make in order to balance out their yin and yang, in order for them to truly be an integrated male and not just, you know, very overly yang or overly yin, let's say?
Yeah, balance, homeostasis, harmony, right? These are these two, like happiness, are fleeting. Like it can be, you know, Eastern philosophy, they call it the Tao.
Yes,
this is
the Tao, exactly.
No way, right? It's like, it's the place of where there's not a lot of energy needed, but there's the maximum potential of energy. So, you know, one really good practice for that with men is again, my MBM practice, your own version of sitting with yourself in silence and being able to feel and heal and deepen the connection with your body, your mind, your soul, and a higher power. So that practice, and there's tons of resources for that, and will help show you where you're out of balance and allow you to make some steps to get back into balance. That's a big one. And then simple things like slowing down. Like it's fine. Taking action is awesome. And when we are, you know, needing to run and deadlift a car off somebody's leg, then that fight or flight mode is really useful. But what's happening is that because men are so far out of alignment with their purpose this day and age, that they're operating from a state of fight or flight almost all the time.
Yeah.
Operating from fear. What's going to be created from a place of fear? More fear, right? So it's like perpetuating that same like anger, fear, aggression. Gotta do, right? And inspired action, I call it like intelligent action, right? It's like, instead of just doing to do or operating from that fight or flight mode, you can use a really easy breath technique to calm your nervous system and go here to a place of your heart that's actually taking in consideration the well-being of everyone instead of just yourself. That's a real easy differentiator between if you're stuck in your mind or if you're in a place of your heart. And it's like, what can I get? What can I get out of this deal? Or what can I get? What can I get? What's in it for me? Right? And that's the ego. That's the fear perpetuating fight or flight mode. Whereas you drop into your heart with some deep breaths, tap into the infinite intelligence already available to us within our body, then all of a sudden, ooh, look at everything I have to give and offer everyone to improve their lives.
That's super interesting that you mentioned that. Actually, I also tell my clients to do something called heart breathing, where they really tap into their heart and they're able to tap into the oxytocin that's released from them actually connecting with that, and so that releases that trust and that amazing self-love that they can tap into. Yeah, it's a really powerful activity. So anybody listening right now, just tune into the power of your heart. It's an amazing tool. It's a hack, right? It's just a quick way to tap into that source energy. And so what would you say is different now that was different then in terms of men, in terms of some of maybe the older men that you coach and the younger men that you coach? Are men weaker now or stronger now? Are they currently, how would you compare older men to younger men in the generation gap, or is there even a generation gap? What would you say in terms of that?
In general, it's all subjective, but I would say that, our ancestors were much stronger.
Yeah.
Now we have 1,000,001 distractions.
We have Amazon Prime. We have everything at our fingertips. Yeah.
It would be more convenient, and then we have a gauntlet of distractions that are taking our greatest asset and hijacking it. And our greatest asset is our attention. It's literally like this magic wand that we're born with, that wherever our focus goes, our energy flows. So when you're spending a great deal of time on distractions and things that are really unimportant and just consuming your time, then when you check in with your body, you're not going to feel great about where you've chosen to bring your attention. And so really bringing that attention inward, like you said, to a heart space, to where, what's really important to you, like what is it that you really want, and getting crystal clear on that vision is what we help people with. That's what we help men with Empowered Men Group. It's literally like, people get so lost in these distractions that it's great once you find your purpose. Cool, you're on the path. But where we come in is helping men discover that true purpose, that true remembrance of why you are here. Not just here now, here watching this, but on this planet Earth, out of all the different universes that you could be in right now. Why are you here? And what you're really made of. And that's the 8-week program, the masterminds, that it's all about self-healing and detoxing the mind and body from what's not serving us, so that we can connect to that higher power and that true self. And from there, it's amazing what happens. That's when the magic happens. I've seen so many men transform just by connecting deeply to self, and realizing how easy it is to get clear on their path and what they really want. And you ask, average don't even know what they really want, so that's a good place to start. Say, I want a cheeseburger. Like,
yeah. Totally. So I've taken this program called The Spiral. It was a 7-week program. They took us through all the different chakra points. And essentially, there was a lot of kinesiology involved in that as well. So kinesiology is very interesting in terms of muscle testing and all sorts of things to basically understand your body a little bit more. So could you explain to the listeners a little bit about your kinesiology background, how beneficial it can be in terms of really understanding the mind and body?
Yeah, it's been such a very passionate study of mind. I mean, human kinesiology in the simple sense is the study of human movement. And so there's applied kinesiology, it's been around for ages. And this is just amazing way of getting answers from your body instead of getting stuck over analyzing in your mind. And so muscle testing is, one of the things I just did a video on in our free Facebook group for the men, so that you can access that intuition, that like confidence in your decision making, instead of being indecisive and just like allowing your attention, your greatest asset, to just flow wherever it wants to land on, seeking pleasure or running from fear. There's much more to life than that. So applied kinesiology is really powerful means of using muscle testing, and you can use this to save a ton of money, even more than Geico, on supplements, foods that you eat. I use this every day, and I muscle test any supplements, any foods, decision making. You can literally use muscle testing to access the intelligence already within you, in your body, instead of getting stuck and wrapped up over analyzing in your headspace. And this is powerful, because when you become more decisive and more confident in your decision making, then you're taking a lot more inspired action and intelligent action, and then you get amazing results with a crystal clear vision that you're working towards. And this is the work that I love doing with men, because it's an accelerated course. It's like it's amazing to see the transformations. Like seeing a guy in our group that went from, he was jobless, lost his job, he was in transit, so he was basically homeless, and he also had a deep hidden passion to do stand-up comedy. So literally through the 8-week program, we took him through this transformation, and he was able to not only find his dream job, where he's like shown us pictures overlooking the ocean, and then he landed an amazing community house with some incredible people that as you know, you need to surround yourself with like-hearted, like-minded people that are up-leveling their lives in order for you to do the same. So he managed to land in a home that could really be a good vibration for him, elevating and some inspiration there. And then we worked on his passion, and now he went from like scared to even tell a joke and kind of like in the closet about it, to doing stand-up comedy twice a month now.
It's awesome. That's a great win. Yeah.
That is no joke. It requires balls.
Absolutely. So we have a question, I believe. If your fear is overpowering you and making you weak regarding the path you want to go to. So yeah, similarly, in terms of that, like fear is a big one. So what do you feel like is holding people, or how is fear entrapping men, and how do you see that men are overcompensating because of it? What do you feel like would be the catalyst towards getting out of fear? And as you answer this question, I'm just going to quickly charge in my computer because it's out of battery. But yeah, feel free to speak on this topic of fear.
Yeah. So fear, as so many of us are either running from it, or we have like these beliefs around fear that it's this terrible thing, right? Even the fight or flight mode, operating from fear, and it has drastic consequences when we're operating from a state of fear. It takes us further from our full fulfillment in our path of purpose. So, but what's interesting is that everything in life is about relationships. So take a look at your relationship with fear and say, like, something that I'm running from? Is this something to avoid? Or is it something that you can lean into?
Yeah.
Just because it's interesting, like, some people allow fear to keep them in their comfort zones their entire life by doing the same painful patterns over and over again because it's familiar, not because it's what they ultimately want. And what happens is, even trying to hide in a comfort zone becomes very uncomfortable eventually. Because we're here to grow, we're here to evolve. And in order to do that, we have to face our fears. So if anyone has ever tried to do something great, you ever go try to start your own business, jump out of a plane, like anything, you're going to be met with fear. You're going to be met with resistance. And so I challenge you to actually take a look at that relationship and notice, like, is this something I can lean into? Because every time you do, just on the other side of that fear is amazing expansion and a new life awaiting you, and parts of you that you didn't even know were available, right? So when you jump off that plane, it's like fear, 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 all the way up to the end, and then, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like, if you look at fear and your relationship with it in a new perspective, in a lens of curiosity, then you can lean into it, and see, like, cool, this is an opportunity for me to get out of my comfort zone, and move towards something new, and this is how we evolve, and that's why even stress is like the big evil bad guy, but if it weren't for stress, we wouldn't be evolving.
Yeah. Very true.
It wouldn't be changing much. It would be stuck in the same spot, and even getting stuck makes more fear, creates more stress, trying to perpetuate you on that path of evolution, right? So I take a different approach. I actually love the dance with fear, and I invite it. I love leaning into it. So I encourage
it's a scary, chaotic dance, but it's worth it.
What's on the other side of that, not only do you experience more expansion, new horizons that you didn't know were possible, exploration, new perspectives, but also you're establishing a deeper self-trust.
Yeah.
That maybe I can take a bigger leap next time, because I know that taking that trust fall, I'll be held. So that's a great way, because it's not like everybody says, like, oh, just be fearless. Like, there even such a thing, right? If you're human, you're going to experience fear. So it's about improving the relationship with fear to really get the results that you want and allow you to evolve at an accelerated pace.
Yeah. Speaking in terms of the body and mind, we have some of our clients do the bowstring with a bioenergetic exercise where they open up this whole channel, and that shakingness allows them to express themselves. Do you find that allowing yourself to freely speak your mind is something that can unlock fear for men today? Because we live in such a culture that's like very politically correct nowadays. There's all these terms like toxic masculinity and things like that going around. So men feel a little bit, I feel like, ashamed, or they feel like they can't really express themselves and say what they need to say. Do you feel that that's a huge element of it too?
Huge. Yeah, it's a huge element. That which we resist persists.
Yeah.
We all know this. And the same thing for like trying to hold back our truth. And you'll know when you're experiencing like resistance and tension and tightness in your throat, right? It's like you have something to say. You have something to express. And so there's an art form to finding the way of expressing that. And if it's something, making sure you're in a safe container for that. And that's what we provide with men's groups, is a place where you can share what's on your heart or what's blocking your throat chakra, so that you can express that and be seen, felt, heard, and supported in that. So there's and then there's a time and a place, right? So this leads me to those that just go around and are expressing profanities and just like leaving a trail of destruction based on what they're sharing is really interesting too, because that is the opposite of holding back, right? That's the opposite of what a lot of men are doing, which is like, okay, I got to tiptoe, be really careful about what I'm saying, you know, like eggshells, and then that gets all bottled up, right? And then you got the other extreme, which is don't give a crap. They're like, you know, non-empathetic, and they just like let people have it. And what's interesting is that I prefer those people, to be around those people, not all the time, but just like to encounter them is like fascinating to me. And here's why. The trick that we have, that we're, whatever initiates a response of anger or an emotion or provokes that from what people tell us, they're triggering us, is showing us something inside of us that seeks to be expressed and healed. And so I'm always like at a point where, you know, I'm always learning and always doing self-development and always growing. And so I'm really curious and even like almost excited when somebody's able to trigger me. I'm like, whoa.
Like it's a gift. It's like giving you some form of like where you can refine yourself, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's usually the ones that we love the most. Right?
Yeah, I've heard this quote, I think, like in terms of why someone asked, like, why was the people closest to us pushing all of our buttons all of a sudden? It's because they installed them. So they installed those buttons there. So yeah, totally, man.
Like they say, you know, you think you're enlightened, just go spend a week with your family.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
Triggers.
So I want to bring up actually this topic of pain because I think it's very prevalent. So for the men listening right now who are going through any pain, do you have any advice for them? And correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a primary pain and a secondary pain in terms of like how we think about it. So if you could maybe talk a little bit about the mindset that got you through the pain that you've suffered with, that would be great.
There's so many different flavors of pain, right? But underneath it all, if you think about it, pain is simply a catalyst for change. And the intensity of the pain is, it's a strong message from our body, our subconscious, right? Our body represents our subconscious. So it's a strong message that this needs our attention. Okay? And usually we're trying to do the opposite. We're like, I'm experiencing pain, so I need to like get away from it. I need to get a pill. I need to like, I'll try anything to
sedate it. Yeah, totally.
What I teach is how to understand the message that your body's sharing with you with pain, through pain, so that we can get to the root of why you're experiencing pain, and then how to correct it and come back to homeostasis and balance and harmony. And so, you know, I've been really fortunate with the gifts and my path to be able to hone in on those nuclei of where a lot of the problems stem from, instead of just putting on Band-Aids and looking externally for answers, instead of you know, trying to cover it up so it just keeps coming back.
Let's just sweep it under the rug, guys. Let's not look at it, you know? Yeah, totally. I feel that.
Then you'll just keep noticing the same patterns, you know, painful experiences showing up until you actually address it and find out the message that's there for you, you know, the why. So yeah, I encourage everyone to even look at pain with a lens of curiosity, and instead of trying to avoid it, have the intention of learning from it.
How important is holding space for you, Charles, in terms of something that men can do in terms of even grounding their women that they're with? What do you feel like it can be used for in terms of holding a healing space, or I guess creating a container for the feminine?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so important, when it's an honor.
Yeah.
It's an honor, an art form. And, if somebody has mastered it, I'd love to meet them, because there's also, when you make it personal, it's like you notice the triggers while you're holding space, and can you breathe through that and just be there for that person, even while you feel like you're getting attacked. There's an to it, and it's so important. And I love that this term's used so much these days, like holding space. It's because one of the chief codes to life, I call it chief code instead of cheat code, right, is this ancient wisdom, like the simplest things, right? Like, become a better listener. Seek to understand before being understood. That premise alone will allow you to become better at space holding people, right? And then being able to allow them a safe place for expressing what needs to come through, right?
Yeah.
And so there's an art to that, it's always evolving, it's always changing, and I always appreciate those like yourself and the men's groups we put on that can create a safe container for people to express, to feel, to heal, and to fully be themselves, and know that they can be safe in that. That's where healing occurs. And that's why each of us are like these unique puzzle pieces to the whole puzzle that we each need.
Grand puzzle of life. Yeah.
Our skill sets, our help. It's the opposite of trying to do the lone wolf. It's like, how can we come together and help one another to make a greater positive impact, and allow that to inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of win-win-win situations instead of competitive situations. It's like a win for you, a win for me, and a win for Mother Earth. Right? Like that's the only way I do business, creating win-win-win situations.
What has been your biggest epiphanies before and after getting married? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. We had an unofficial wedding with our friends in a beautiful sacred ceremony in Mount Shasta, which was so magical, so beautiful. We have a lot of musicians in our soul tribe, so it was just like next level, a lot of magic. And then we have our families coming together for a little bit more of a traditional wedding next month. So
awesome.
I'm right in the middle of that experience, as well as having a baby on the way. So life is getting really exciting right now. Like, this is like the chapter in my story when I really get to take a look at anything that's not working and get to step into the highest version of myself to show up in the greatest capacity I can for others.
Right. So has it been very challenging in terms of that, and it's pushed you to your limit in a sense?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's we're doing a lot of space holding for each other. So luckily, I chose wisely, and she's a medicine woman and just has some amazing gifts as well. So we come together and allow for that space when needed for us to share authentically what's coming up. We have some amazing, powerful sex magic that we've used to transmute energy into creation and manifestation. And so it's just this ever unfolding, beautiful, sacred union that is all really new. I mean, ever since I met her, it's like all my dreams are just like boom, 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 coming true at accelerated pace. And with that requires a lot of letting go of
So,
And so, yeah, I'm having to up my game of space holding with, my beautiful beloved, going through our first pregnancy. And so there's a lot of heightened states of emotion that come with that. And it's beautiful. Like it's magical. And I just feel so blessed to be on this path and to get to create life with such a beautiful partner that I've chosen. And this next chapter I'm really excited about. So.
Awesome, man. So I think the Facebook Live just reached its limit, or it ended somehow. However, yeah, my final question to you actually was that what's your advice for women who can help in the shift of men? There is an emerging consciousness of men stepping fully more into their integration and being able to truly embody what it means to be a holistic man in today's day and age. And what can women do in order to support these men in terms of really stepping into their full power?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it might be different for everyone, but in general, coming back to kindness, compassion, and space holding, allow men that
man, there's nothing sexier than a kind woman. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And that can love you through all your ugly cries and all the anger expression, and finding healthy ways to express those things, and showing the ugly sides of ourselves and still feeling that nurturing, loving side that
Totally
can hold is probably one of the greatest things for men in their healing journey that they can allow, is trusting a woman to go through that.
I almost feel like the feminine energy is sort of like you can sort of just relax around that. It's like a replenishing sort of energy. So being around your woman, it allows you to definitely, just let go and be like, finally I can breathe, like you got me out of my head now. Great.
And recharge. Yeah. And so I feel like another big note with that is just women and men just being able to have full acceptance of others, of exactly where they're at on their path, not needing them to be, I need you to be this guy, how come you haven't accomplished this yet, or all these things. Really underlying all that is you can help push them towards that and inspire them in that, but really acceptance of where they're currently at in their life at that moment and who they are, and see. So another thing I invite is reticular activation, right? So this is a retina activating to our radar to whatever it is our intention is, right?
Right. It's like our selective focus, right?
Yeah. So I set my reticular activation to seeing the greatness in everyone and everything. So trained my brain to look for all the amazing gifts, talents, passions, unique, beautiful aspects to everybody I encounter, especially my beloved. And so I love when that's reciprocated. I love when, instead of pointing out just all the negatives and all the ways I'm imperfect, that's fine. I'm open to taking a look at that, and I appreciate that feedback too. However, if you initiate with, you lead with reticular activation set to seeing the greatness in your man, in your friends, in your family, then this can save us from so much turmoil and relational conflict. And it's just by that one simple reframe. It's a powerful one.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Charles, and expressing yourself so deeply, so authentically, getting so vulnerable with us. It was incredible to hear from you. How can people get in touch with you, brother? This is your time to plug it out.
Yeah, for sure. If you feel you resonate with any of the things we've been over, and you're interested in some of the men's group work that we do, then don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me through Instagrams really easily. It's charlesclay.coaching. And then that's as well as my website. So that's an easy way to reach out. If you want to I'm open to receiving messages and helping anybody so send me, direct message from Facebook, from Instagram. That's the easiest way. And what's great is that it offer just a simple 15-minute call with those that are interested or going through something in transit or just lost on their path. And what we can do is get really clear on what it is you need support with. And so even if it's not with us, then we have amazing resources to help get you what you need and back into alignment with your greatest purpose and on that mission. So
yeah. Awesome, guys. And we'll just shoot over Charles' links in the description as well. So is the website Greatest You? Is that?
Yes. We're actually in the middle of updating a lot of that. So you can use either Greatest You, it's the letter U.com, or charlesclay.coach. Either one will bring you to the same.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, brother. As Ivan would say, be the best, forget the rest. I want to say, may the flow be with you. And thanks so much for being here, brother. If you guys want to get in touch with me or Ivan, you can contact Ivan at Odd Resilience, that's odd.resilience, and me at Flowzone Academy, that's FLOZONE Academy. Again, thank you for listening, guys. It's been another amazing episode and deep dive. Hope you have an incredible day. May the flow be with you.